Good morning, everybody. Another episode of the Keep Going podcast, Athletes Shining a Light on Mental Health. I am sitting in Atlanta Airport. Shout out to ATL. Big Dave, where you at, baby?
I am not at an airport. I'm at home. It's a little early this morning, but I'm in Colorado right now.
I love it. And before we go to Joe Bush, who I'm super excited to have on, I got to also shout out the Coco Locos, baby. Joe Filomeno came on a couple years ago, just got drafted in the Savannah Bananas League by the Coconuts. Got to shout my guy out. So shout out to Joe Filomeno as well. But on another Joe side of things, Joe Bush, tell me about yourself, man. Why'd you decide to come on?
I became on because of you. I mean,
Oh,
man,
thank you, man.
the Elk Grove Village connection is real. And, you being a former student of mine, your brother being a former student of mine, it's fast. I'm gonna tell this story really quick. We might get to it, but your brother, as a freshman, was in my class. At the end of the year, I
Yeah.
did like a motivational speech, and he stops me at the end of it, and he's like, "Hey, have you ever thought about public speaking?" And I
Yeah.
was like, "No, I never have." And then the next year, I ran a leadership conference with District 214. Then I did another one. Then other schools started asking me to come and speak, and that's just snowballed into a lot of different things. And it was like just that one person believing in you, even though he was 14, 15 years old, was like, "Man, I can do this." So, yeah, the relationship and seeing you guys at church, seeing you guys all around Elk Grove has kept me connected. So yeah, happy to be here.
I love it, man. And we're happy to have you. And, I was with Adam last night. I mentioned in the prelude, my sister Lily got married last night, and Adam goes up there and takes the mic. We're doing a dual, like, I don't know, our Usher brothers speech or whatever you want to call it. And he goes up there, man, and just rips it. So, one, I'm happy you guys had that conversation. And two, I think it also inspired him to grow in that area, be able to speak, be able to coach, be able to really make some impact with the masses as well, man. So I think it's mutual there.
Yeah,
Joe, obviously you're a soccer guy by trade, but that's not your identity anymore. Talk about soccer and how you've transitioned the professional world.
absolutely. Yeah, when I went into college and I wanted to be an educator, I thought a lot about just coaching soccer, and that was it, man. I played soccer in college at Benedictine, and started coaching right away at Driscoll Catholic High School, then Elk Grove High School, then became the varsity coach there. And the identity thing is something I talk about a lot, but I did it for 20 years. And, I had some different times in my life where I was compartmentalizing. I was a soccer coach this way, a Christian this way, a teacher this way. And kind of about 2013 was when I stepped back. And that was really, I went through an experience in my life where just having some tough times going on with family. My brother passed away, and my dad was sick. And, I realized that number one, I had to put God at the center of all of that. And my identity really was, me as a Christian, and then just me as a coach, whatever that meant. But I didn't need to be a soccer coach to be identified. And it was tough at first, and I actually kept going back. I did some club stuff right after that because I just kept seeing myself that. But now as I look over it, it's really like I'll coach anyone, anywhere, and anything. I'm doing my son's basketball team, doing some life coaching on the side, doing some public speaking, but really just trying to figure out what is that one thing that I am. And I just come back to it. What's that one word? It's an educator. And so wherever I'm at, whoever I can teach, that's what I'm focused on. But it doesn't just have to be in the lens of soccer.
It's a beautiful thing. A lot of us on the podcast, right, are educators, coaches, mentors, teachers, whatever you want to say. Give me one way you've kind of tied that all together, and what was the forefront of it? Go ahead.
It tied, like, being an educator
Yeah,
together.
like putting it all together into your identity now. What was your number one thing?
I think it was just making that decision of asking myself not what I wanted to be, but who I wanted to be. And I wanted to be someone that was inspiring, someone that could help others grow. And I think that was a big thing. I had a psychology teacher in college, and he talked about, his focus was growing. And at first, we all thought he was nuts. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you want to be a farmer or something like that? And he's like, no, I'm just dedicated to other people's growth. And that was something that was really important to me. And so when I put that in there and said, this is what it is that I want to do, it opened up so many realms where it wasn't just in the field of coaching soccer.
No, absolutely. And I think it's a lot bigger than that, right? We kind of limit ourselves sometimes to just the church, just the field, just the classroom. When you really start getting in front of more people and making more impact, you really start to pave your way in your identity for sure. Stay on that though. We just came to your classroom a couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
had a great experience over at Elk Grove High School. Those kids love you, man. Like when you're in the classroom, when you're making that impact, what are you looking for in 2025?
It always starts with authenticity. That's the number one thing for me. And students, I think, are searching for that because, the AI, internet, everything's fake, everything's polished. So, and you guys did this too. It's like you go in there right away. And I always say, like, start as deep as you possibly can. So I start kind of with like heartbreak, struggle, and just say, hey, I'm a real person. I went through this. I made it through. It might not be the same as your struggle, but I'm going to be really authentic. And I tell my students, if I don't live it and I don't believe it, I will not teach it. And you guys, you and Zach did the same thing coming in there and kind of telling your experience of, hey, I had struggles in baseball. It wasn't like you guys rolled in and it was like, yeah, I was always the best player on always the best teams and we never lost because that's nobody's like that. I mean, unless you're Michael Jordan, we all
Right.
have those experiences. And down in Atlanta last night, there was a big football game with Georgia and Alabama, and it's like
Yep.
Alabama beats Georgia, Georgia comes back and he beats Alabama, and they can learn from those experiences. And we learn so much. I just told my kids a quote the other day that experience isn't the best teacher, evaluated experiences. So what did we take from that loss? What did we take from that win? And how could we continue to do it better?
Definitely doing some people watching out here in the Georgia area right now. There's a lot of Alabama, there's a lot of Georgia. There's
Yeah.
not a lot of going back and forth. There's a lot of mutual respect for how good both of those football teams have been over the last, I don't know, 10, 20 years. But
Yeah.
it takes time. I mean,
Right.
when we were kids, I mean, Alabama and Georgia football weren't powerhouses. Like it took time to build that culture, build that
Right.
community, build that family. I'm gonna go to David real quick because Dave, obviously, man, you had your ups and downs as a college baseball player. This is probably hitting home for you right now, man. Talk about that, Dave.
Yeah, I think it's important to ask yourself like certain questions to kind of self-reflect and have some more awareness. Um, how does someone find clarity that is going through a struggle with their mental health or may feel a little lost with their identity? How does someone actually find the clarity? Do they ask themselves questions? Do they get still? Maybe pray about it? What would you recommend to someone?
Yeah, I think silence is one of the best teachers in the world. One of my favorite authors early on this journey was a guy by the name of Matthew Kelly, who's started an organization called Dynamic Catholic now. And from the very beginning, every book he's talked about the classroom of silence and how you can learn more from 10 minutes of silence than you can from reading 100 books. And I think a lot of times it starts with that stillness, Dave, that we're always looking and searching for answers, or someone will even jump on like ChatGPT and be like, how do I find clarity? How do I find mental health? And it's like just sit with the emotion and feel that. And I think the answers will start to come because you think about what gives you energy, what brings you like struggle, and you don't see those things unless you slow down. And I had a conversation with a student the other day, and she was just talking about like missing assignments, and then she doesn't get sleep, and then she's up till 2 in the morning, and it's like just slow down. Like start with that because more is not always going to be better. And you have this concept of like do less. And I read this in an article, if there's a scale of 0 to 20 and you're want to be at 10, you want to be dead in the middle, and you're at 17, you can't add anything more to get back to 10. Everything has to be subtractive. So what is it that you can let go of in order to find that stillness, in order to find that um, you know, peace amongst mental health? And that's a simple answer. I mean, there are people who are going through real mental health struggles, but I can't imagine that doing more stuff on the internet, getting less sleep is going to help you. You really have to be able to slow down to start.
Yeah, Dave, I'm gonna hit on this, and this really doesn't happen much, Joe. Where like we've had 150 plus episodes now, and you just said something that I've never really heard on the podcast, so I'm gonna kind of elaborate on it. A lot of people find themselves searching for growth and money and success and the fame, not a lot of people are searching for the ultimate calm. And I think that's the win in this. It's being able to have success, but also have that inner peace and that happiness and being proud of yourself at the end of the day. I think you're the definition of that, man, because I know right now you're taking a break off of social media, correct? That's what you're doing right now. Talk
Yeah.
about that for our viewers and for our audience.
Yeah. So when you're talking about that ultimate calm, one of my favorite Bible verses, true godliness with contentment is itself great wealth. So
Man,
true godliness
amen.
with contentment is itself great wealth. And I think about that a lot. And I go back to, when my wife and I were, when she was trying to get pregnant, we were talking about having a family and she wanted to stay home. And it was like, okay, well, if we save $10,000, then we can have a kid, and then you get $10,000 and you're like, well, now we got this. Maybe we should take like one more vacation and then we'll have a kid. Then we'll save money. And so we're always thinking it's like, the person who gets to, you finally get that $1 million or whatever in the 401k and you're like, man, what is 2 million going to be like? We don't even take time to celebrate that at all. And we continue to just want more and more and more. And so, yeah, for me with the break with social media, it was just again asking myself, who do I want to be? And I was just sometimes I'm chasing, followers and this is I'm really glad I'm here today because as I've slowed down, I've realized that I don't need more connections of people that I don't really know. I need to go deeper with the people that I do. And so and I know Sylvia, who is another Elk Grove student. I'm going to speak at her. She's working in the mortgage industry, so we're going to do a talk on finances and money mindset. And so that's somebody that I didn't find through social media. I found in my class. I was just at Conant High School the other day. My sons are there. I've done some speaking in the past, and they pulled me aside and they want me to do an athletic leadership thing in the next August. So all these are people that I know, and I'm going deeper with them and finding greater connections than chasing that person who's out in California who might need a life coach, who might need a speaker. So look around yourself first and go deeper with those relationships. And it's way more meaningful because like I know you, I trust you, I know good things are going to happen. And sometimes when I go and I speak at other places, it's like I don't know if there's any follow-up. I don't really know what they do on a day-to-day basis. And with Zach and me to we, it's like we've got a strong, powerful group and I've always said this, a tree with strong roots can survive any storm, and you guys are building a root structure here, which is incredible.
Thank you. And I think that's beautiful. Shout out Sylvia too, by the way, while we're here. But
Yeah.
my point would be this: dominate your backyard
Yeah.
and build outwards. I think we get so caught, and Dave is like this too. Dave is a content creator, makes a lot of awesome videos, comes on the pod with us, posts, all that good stuff. I think we get caught sometimes looking for clicks, looking for follows,
Yeah.
when the real big thing is how can we build a community? And I have to shout out Zach. I think Zach has done an amazing job. I'm wearing the branding. It's good branding right now.
Yeah.
But like he's built this amazing brand where like if someone says keep going in the Elk Grove suburb area, they know who the heck we're talking about.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful, man. Let's stay there though. When it
Yeah.
comes to Me Too, it comes to the keep going movement, it comes to everything that we do, it's built on the keep going moment. Something you went through that the normal person might have not gotten through the way you did. What's your keep going moment, man?
So for me, it's 2013. It's my brother passed away in January, and my dad at the same time had was told he had 6 to 9 months to live. I had a 3 year old and a 3 month old. And man, I was just at rock bottom and it was hard. And like, this was 2013. Not people were just kind of maybe starting to talk about mental health a little bit. But I just remember not being able to get out of bed and not knowing what, like, it's like literally there's just a weight on your chest. And so, I just, I had to keep going. Like I had a little kid and I had to keep pushing through. And, it was dealing with my brother's passing away and then, dealing with my dad and his ailing health over that time. But it was like, yeah, just keep going, just keep standing, just keep making it happen. And that was it. And, it turned into something where I recognized, I had another student in my class who was struggling with addiction. And we kind of had a come to Jesus moment. And it was like I realized that kid in my class was very similar to who my brother was when he was in high school. I'm like, man, I got to do more. And out of that moment of pain and agony and struggle was how we built Leadership Through Service, which was a class that you spoke in and started with 31 kids. And now there's 131 kids in it. And it was like, it became less about me and more about other people. And I was like, I'm going to keep going, not just for me, but for the other people around me so that we can inspire and other kids can grow and they can make an impact in the world.
And Joe, I shared this, and thank you for being vulnerable and talking about that time. Obviously, I knew you during that time. There was a lot of setback, trials, and tribulations. I shared this when we spoke a couple weeks ago about how that Facebook page was something that we created around that time. You know, Joe Bush, our favorite teacher,
Yeah.
Facebook page. It's funny when you were going through such a tough time and a painful, dark time, you were shining a light on others and you didn't even know it, man. So it's
Right.
just a beautiful thing. And this is a message for anybody going through it right now, currently on this Sunday when this comes out today. If you're going through something, keep moving. We had Ann Gloated on. I bring up this quote all the time: one foot in front of the other. You never
Yeah.
know who you're impacting. And obviously, Joe, as a teacher, we come back 10 years later, and I feel like you've made a huge, huge footprint on my life and a huge impact on my life. I can't thank you for that, man. I mean that.
No, no, thank you. And it's crazy. I mean, you've probably had this as a coach where, you've said something and then 10 years later, 5 years later, whatever it is, a kid comes back and like, yeah, man, you said this, this, and this. And I'm like, I don't even remember that. But it was like
Yeah.
it happened because it's, my friends always talk about like I have an incredible memory, but my memory isn't any better. It's my memory is for things that I'm emotionally attached to. So my
Yeah.
wife will laugh. She's like, I don't understand. How can you remember scores of basketball games when you were in eighth grade?
Because
And
you
it's
love
like,
it. Because you
right, I
love it.
loved it. We had a sleepover the night before, and then we went out and we played, we beat St. Hubert's, and this is what happened, and we missed a free throw and got a rebound. Like because you have an emotional attachment to it. And we don't, and that's why I try with the leadership class, we have to change our state every day. And you guys came in, you got the kids moving around, you got them thinking differently because if we don't have an emotional attachment, you're not going to learn anything. And so
Yeah.
that's really, really important to just, like you said, keep going because if you're just sitting there, that object at rest is going to stay at rest, but you can have an impact even if you're going through a struggle. There's other people that might need you.
I'm going to say one more thing, and I'm going to jump on this flight back to Chicago. I'm going to kick it over to Dave. Joe, I'm going to say this. You hit the nail on the head. You could hear a message for the 100th time, and on that 100th time, it hits. I
Yeah,
talk about it with my wife all the time. I was a guy that drank. I was a guy that gambled. I was a guy that had all these addictions and vices. And she sat me down on a curb. I'll never forget, on a physical curb, and said, if you want to stay with me, you need to change this, this, and this. And I heard it
yeah,
100 times from my mom, from my
right.
brother, from people that were who I looked up to and cared about.
Yeah,
She sat me down and it hit and it changed. And we started putting things in play. And I look back now and she's just brought my luggage over. She's like, get moving. And now she's on my butt about moving. I have the right woman, right? I have the right
yeah,
people now. You included. David Mitchell's been a big part of my growth. These are things that you might get that message for the 100th time.
right.
Keep listening. Keep taking the advice. We don't know everything. David, we're going to the mailbag right now, baby. I'm getting out of here. Joe Bush, I love you, brother. I'll talk to you soon,
All right,
okay?
safe travels, buddy. We'll see you.
Appreciate
Yeah, I think we talk about like change a lot, but it can be hard at sometimes, right?
Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone that wants to change but doesn't know how? Or is like surrounding themselves with some friends, but they don't know if these friends are making them better or worse, but they like the connection. What advice would you give someone that is going through that kind of hard time that wants to change but doesn't know how?
Yeah, there's a few things. So number one, it always for me it starts with state that you have to change your emotional state. You have to get up, you have to move, you have to exercise. I've never watched TV for 3 hours and then felt like energized or motivated to do something. A motivation is created by or emotion. You have to get up, you have to do something. The second thing, and you touched on earlier with clarity, when you're clear with what you want, the world responds with clarity. And so it's sitting in that silence and thinking about who is it that I want to be? And then asking yourself the very simple question, and this comes from Matthew Kelly, back in 2001 before everyone was using better version of themselves. But he talked about like physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, are the decisions that I'm making me a better version of myself, or the people that I'm hanging around. So that's important. And I'm actually teaching a lesson on it this week about, your inner circle, that you are the average of the five people that you hang out with. And if you hang out with five highly motivated, successful people, you'll be the sixth. And if you hang out with, five knucklehead troublemakers, you're also going to be the sixth.
Mhm.
So, and that the last part of that question that you asked is like, we stay in our comfort zone a lot. And, I've been hanging out with these guys, I've been hanging out with these girls for 20 years. And my question is like, how are they bettering you? If you're the smartest and most motivated person in your group, you might need to find another group. And it doesn't mean that you can't hang out with them. It doesn't mean you have to ditch everyone around you, but you have to start stretching yourself. And that might be with books, that might be with podcasts. I'm a perpetual learner. That's really, really important for you to be able to think like, what are other people saying about this? People who have done it before, people who have paved the way. That's who you need to be listening to.
Yeah, for sure. Where would you say for someone to start with that? Like, would it be books, or how does someone start
Yeah.
acknowledging that awareness?
I would find someone that you trust and have a 10-minute conversation with them and just ask them, hey, when you were stuck, how did you get out of this? What is something that you did to set goals for yourself? Where did you have that pivot point? Where was your keep going moment, so to speak? And start with somebody that you trust because, like we said, there's so much knowledge out there. There's not as much wisdom. So, is there somebody that a coach, an older brother, someone where you're like, man, if in 10 years I was like them, that's where I would go. And that's where you have to start. Just having those conversations with people that you trust, because you don't want to go out and just, if you go to the library or just, go to a podcast or something like that, somebody will be like, oh, well, listen to this, listen to this. It might not sit with you and it might turn it off. But I think starting with someone that you know and trust and love is a really important way to do it. And we do that in my class, once a month. It's just a random question bag and it's anonymous. They put what period they are. We sit in a circle and I'll just answer anything that they ask. And I think that makes a difference.
Yeah, I think that's powerful to reach out. And you talked a little bit about that comfort zone, right? Like, it's important to get out of your comfort zone and do a hard thing that you may not want to do, but it
Yeah.
may lead you to something new, something better. You never know if you don't take that chance, which I think is powerful.
Mhm.
Another question I have for you is, um, what is a mindset shift you wish everyone would adapt to?
That you can do hard things.
Hmm.
that that it's like I didn't if someone would have told me, hey, you're gonna have a kid and then 3 months later your brother's gonna pass away and then 8 months later your dad's gonna pass away and you're gonna get through that and something great's gonna come of it, I'd be like, no way. I'm gonna cry in the corner. And I have a friend, like when that happened, I was talking with one of my friends and she's like, I don't know how you did it. She's like, if I lost my mom or dad, I would go in my room and I would cry for 5 days. And I was like, yeah, maybe you would. There's no judgment on that, but you also have kids. Like you also have things that you need to do and responsibilities. And I remember I talked to another teacher, and she had her father was sick, and it's like she's like, I woke up and I had to go to the hospital, but before that, I had to do sub plans, which is just crazy as an educator. But there's so many things that we can do. Just do the hard thing. And I've always had these like mini challenges with myself. So last year, my goal was to do over 5,000 pull-ups for the year. And it was just like I wasn't trying to design a better back. I was just trying to do something that was hard that I had to do each day to make it possible. And the same thing, I had a 10-minute running goal for 30 days in a row. So all these mini challenges. We just did a 21-day challenge in my class. And that was just getting the kids to say, hey, I can do hard things. And some of it was just walking their dog every day. Some of it was journaling every day, reading every night. But there was a good majority of the kids who they did 4 or 5 days and they stopped. And I intentionally wanted them to struggle with it because, January 17th, the New Year's resolutions are over. So I'd rather they have that failure experience, that struggle experience at age 17, so that they can figure things out later in life.
Hmm. That's powerful. Have you ever struggled with writing down a goal and attaching to the outcome too much? Um, like what advice would you give there? Because I think a lot of things is like we want something, so we write a goal for it instead of like actually building a habit and
Yeah.
creating something to do every single day at the same time. What uh what would you say about that?
I would say start small. So right now I'm in the midst of writing a book, and sometimes I'll sit there and I'm like, man, this book is going to be great and it's going to sell X amount of copies. And I'm going to think about all these places I'm going to give it and people are going to buy it. And it's like, you haven't written yet. You just need to sit and write for 3 minutes. And a lot of times when you write for 3 minutes, then you write for 5 minutes, then you write for 10 minutes. And it's okay to stop, but you have to have that daily writing practice. And, was just talking with one of my life coaching clients and, she was talking about this attachment to money that she had, and she's recently divorced, and she wanted to just have she wanted to know she was financially set by herself. It was like kind of like proving her ex-husband wrong. And the challenge there is she realized she's like, I'm attaching it like I'm doing it for the wrong reason. Like I'm good enough myself. I don't need to have X amount of dollars in my bank to prove anything to anyone else. I just need to know that I am financially stable and I'm working towards a goal. And I think it's really in the journey. It's in that process of growing because you're gonna hit that goal, and then another next day you're gonna want another goal. So you have to fall in love with just wanting to do the process and doing it for the greater good. I think that's really important. And I always talk about human needs that we have love and connection and certainty and significance. But if you can't find those things, you need to look for them in growth and contribution. And we know that a tree is alive because it grows and contributes. A tree doesn't get to 40 feet and then say, oh, I'm good. This is as far as I want to go. So find that process every single day, which will help you grow and contribute to the world. And it doesn't even matter if you hit all, like if I have a goal of finishing this book by June 1st, but a lot of the book is important, but it's also about the process of who I'm becoming in that goal setting.
Yeah, definitely. We talk a lot about the process and kind of staying present in the journey and not so
Mm.
much like on the destination.
Yeah.
Um, is there anything else you would like to share to anyone that's listening today that we may have missed?
Yeah, I just want to say how grateful I am for Pat and for you and for all the people with this keep going. He and I reconnected over the summer, and he said to me, "Hey, I've got this podcast. I'd love to have you on." And I'm thinking like, oh, like next week we'll get something going. He's like, my first time available is December 7th. And I was like, oh, this is a real big deal. So, I would say if you enjoyed this episode, if you enjoyed last episode, just keep going, keep listening. I think having this community is important, and for you guys too, I would say I don't know where you're at with monthly subscribers, listeners, like anything like that, but I know I've listened to clips and it's made an impact. And I haven't listened to every single show, but there are definitely things, again, with that clarity, when you're clear with what you want, the world responds with clarity, that I've seen from you guys that has been really impactful. So I would encourage you to keep going because you're making a difference. And you guys Pat, he was down in Atlanta, one of my favorite college football analysts, Josh Pate, who started with just a little YouTube channel, just hit 500,000 subscribers. He was just on ESPN. He was doing something with Game Day yesterday. And no matter how small you start, keep going and keep listening to the people who have really good advice, because we sometimes we look for the big names, the Tony Robbins, the Ed Milet, and those guys have amazing information and content, and you should listen to them. But like Pat said, grow your own backyard first, and that's what I encourage people to do.
Yeah, thank you. How can people find you?
So I am mostly hang out on Instagram, and I'm at Coach Joe Bush. Or you can check out my website, which is joebushcoaching.com. And as a guest, I always tell people this when I speak, like I'm a real human being. So if you send me an email or you send me a message on Instagram, like I will respond. I will reach out to you. I don't believe in being, untouchable. Like, oh, I was on this podcast or I was a public speaker. No one can do like I love the question and answers after. And yeah, I'd love to connect with you and then, bring that back to me, bring that back to the class. Like I think we're building a really cool movement right now.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you. Thank you for coming on today, sharing your
Welcome.
story. Your answers were great.
Oh,
There's
thank you.
definitely gonna be a lot of clips on the socials this week. But thank you
Good.
for coming on here, spending your time. Appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Go back and take a nap. I mean, you're an hour behind me, and this was early for me. So Pat got that East Coast time. He's benefiting from it. So,
He is. All right. Thank
all
you.
right, take care, Dave. Bye.
Appreciate it. Keep going.
Thanks.